Ambassador Corell adjusted her crystalline outer membrane as she gazed through the viewport of her diplomatic vessel. The blue-green planet below seemed unremarkable, yet something about it made her inner core vibrate with unease. Earth, home to humanity, the galaxy's newest spacefaring species, and her latest assignment. Approaching Earth Orbital Station Harmony, announced her pilot, his tentacles rippling across the control interface. Human traffic control has cleared us for docking. Corell observed the approaching station. It was modest by Federation standards, a rotating wheel of metal and transparent polymers, adorned with solar panels that glinted in the sunlight. Nothing about it suggested advanced military capability, which aligned with all previous reports about human technological development. The docking procedure was smooth, almost primitive in its simplicity. As Corell's party emerged from their ship, they were greeted by a human delegation led by a tall woman with dark skin and silver-streaked hair. "Ambassador Corell," the woman said, bowing slightly. "I'm Director Sarah Chen of the Earth Diplomatic Corps. Welcome to Harmony Station." Corell's universal translator rendered the woman's words perfectly, though something in her tone made the ambassador's sensors tingle. After 3 centuries in diplomatic service, Corell had learned to trust these subtle instincts. "Director Chen," Corell responded, her crystalline form shifting through diplomatic courtesy colors. "The Federation appreciates Earth's willingness to undergo this standard evaluation of military capabilities. As you know, all new spacefaring species must be properly classified for mutual safety." "Of course," Chen smiled. "We've prepared a comprehensive tour of our defensive installations. Earth has nothing to hide." The tour began in what humans called the Command Center, a spacious room filled with holographic displays showing vessel traffic throughout the solar system. Corell noted the presence of approximately 50 human military vessels, all of modest size and armament. Their weapons systems appeared to be limited to point defense lasers and basic kinetic barriers, exactly what one would expect from a species that achieved FTL travel just 15 years ago. "As you can see," Chen explained, gesturing to the displays, "our fleet focuses primarily on trade protection and search and rescue operations. We've had some issues with space debris and navigation hazards, but nothing our current capabilities can't handle." Corell's assistant, Tulax, was diligently recording everything with his sensory appendages. "Your honesty is appreciated, Director. Many young species attempt to exaggerate their military strength." Chen laughed softly. "We're well aware of our limitations, Ambassador. Earth is still learning its place in the galaxy." As the tour continued through the station's various sections, Corell found herself increasingly troubled by small inconsistencies. The station's power readings didn't quite match its apparent energy needs. Certain corridors seemed to have slightly thicker walls than structural requirements would dictate. And there was something odd about the way human personnel moved. Too practiced, too precise in their seemingly casual activities. In the station's research section, Corell observed human scientists working with various technologies. Their approaches were interesting, sometimes surprisingly elegant, other times almost deliberately inefficient. When questioned about certain technical capabilities, the humans consistently presented themselves as still learning, still developing. "Your species seems remarkably focused on defensive technologies," Corell noted as they observed a demonstration of human shield systems. "We believe the best way to survive in the galaxy is to avoid conflict," Chen responded. "History has taught us the value of protection over aggression." Later that day, as Corell prepared her initial report in her temporary quarters, she found herself struggling to articulate her concerns. On the surface, everything aligned perfectly with what the Federation expected from a young spacefaring species. The humans were transparent, cooperative, and appropriately humble about their capabilities. Yet something nagged at her consciousness. She recalled a moment during the tour when they passed a group of human engineers. The engineers were performing routine maintenance on a communications array, but their movements had been too efficient, too coordinated. It reminded her of something, but she couldn't quite place it. Krell began her report with standard classifications and assessments. Humanity would be rated as a Category 2 civilization, capable of interstellar travel but limited in military capability. She noted their focus on defensive technology and their apparent commitment to peaceful development. Then she paused, her crystalline form flickering with uncertainty. After a moment's consideration, she added a personal observation. While all observable evidence supports a Category 2 classification, this ambassador recommends continued close observation of human development. There are subtle inconsistencies in their technological implementation that warrant further study. As she transmitted the report, Krell was unaware that her communication was being monitored from a facility deep beneath the Earth's surface. In a heavily shielded room, Director Chen stood before a wall of advanced holographic displays, watching the ambassador's message being transmitted. "She suspects something," noted a tall man in a military uniform, Admiral James Harrison. "She's sharper than the others." Chen nodded, her earlier diplomatic smile replaced by an expression of calculated assessment. "Good. That's exactly what we wanted. The Federation needs to start asking questions, but slowly, carefully. The art isn't in hiding everything. It's in letting them see just enough to make them uncertain." Harrison gestured to another display, showing the real-time positions of Earth's actual military assets. Thousands of advanced vessels hidden in dimensional pocket space, automated defense networks that could activate in milliseconds, and weapons technologies that would make the Federation's best scientists question their understanding of physics. Phase 1 is proceeding as planned, Chen confirmed. "Let them think they're discovering our deception gradually. The longer they spend trying to figure out what we're hiding, the less likely they are to realize the full scope of our capabilities." In her quarters aboard Harmony Station, Krell stood at the viewport, watching Earth rotate below. Something about the planet's clouds caught her attention. Their movements seemed slightly too regular in certain areas. She adjusted her sensory inputs, trying to detect any pattern, unaware that she was seeing exactly what humanity wanted her to see. The first seeds of doubt had been planted, exactly as planned. Humanity's greatest deception wasn't in hiding their strength. It was in controlling how that strength would be discovered. As Krell continued her observations, Earth's true military machine hummed quietly in the background, its full capacity hidden behind layers of carefully constructed revelations, waiting for the moment when the galaxy would finally understand just how prepared humanity had always been. The discovery rocked the galactic scientific community. In a previously unexplored sector of human space, a research vessel had found something impossible. A weapon platform of clearly artificial origin, but dating back millions of years. The artifact's energy signature alone suggested technological capabilities far beyond current Federation standards. Within days, research vessels from 12 different species converged on the sector. The humans, maintaining their appearance of technological modesty, welcomed all scientific missions with open arms. Dr. Vexterra of the Arcturian Science Academy stood before the massive structure, her energy form crackling with excitement as she directed scanning beams across its surface. The artifact hung in space like a sleeping giant, its dark metal surface absorbing light in ways that defied physics. "Fascinating how the humans found this first," remarked her colleague, Dr. Nixis, his tentacles waving in thought patterns indicating suspicion. "Their scanning technology should be primitive compared to ours." "Lucky accident," replied Captain Maya Rodriguez of the human research vessel Curiosity. She was a compact woman with close-cropped gray hair and laugh lines around her eyes. "One of our mining surveys detected unusual energy readings. We're just happy to share this discovery with the galactic community." Vexterra noticed how the human captain's vital signs remained perfectly steady as she spoke. Too steady, perhaps. The Arcturian adjusted her sensors, studying the human vessels maintaining station around the artifact. They were simple research ships by all appearances, lightly armed and modestly shielded. Yet something about their positioning nagged at her scientific instincts. They seemed randomly placed, but when she ran a quick geometric analysis, She realized their formation created perfect overlapping fields of coverage around the artifact. Coincidence? The situation grew more complex when a Drachnid battle fleet arrived at the edge of the system. The Drachnids, a warrior species known for claiming ancient artifacts by force, made no effort to hide their intentions. "This artifact lies in human space," their commander transmitted. "But the humans lack the military strength to defend it. For the good of the galaxy, we will take custody of this weapon." The human response was diplomatic and seemingly anxious. "Please, Captain Rodriguez broadcast, let's discuss this reasonably. We're happy to share access to the artifact with all species." Vexterra observed as the Drachnid fleet, consisting of 30 heavily armed warships, moved into attack formation. The human research vessels began backing away, their actions suggesting fear and uncertainty. Other research ships quickly retreated to safe distances. The Drachnid commander gave his final warning. "Clear the area, humans. We would regret any unnecessary loss of life." What happened next would change galactic understanding of humanity forever. The human ships, still retreating, passed through specific points in space. At each point, they released what appeared to be simple research buoys. The Drachnids ignored these devices, their scans showing them to be basic atmospheric sampling units. Captain Rodriguez made one last transmission. "Please reconsider your actions. We don't want anyone to get hurt." The Drachnid fleet advanced. Then everything changed. The research buoys activated simultaneously. They weren't sampling devices at all. They were nodes of an energy web that no one had detected until it was complete. The web energized, creating a complex geometric pattern that enclosed the Drachnid fleet in a field of scintillating light. Every Drachnid ship suddenly lost power. Their engines died, weapons went offline, and even life support systems struggled. Inside the energy web, the mighty battle fleet floated helpless as children's toys. From quantum space, new human ships appeared. They were smaller than the Drachnid vessels, but sleek and angular, unlike anything humanity had shown before. They moved with impossible precision, taking up positions around the trapped fleet. "This is Admiral Sarah Chen," came a transmission. Vexterra recognized the voice of the woman who had hosted Ambassador Kroll months ago. "Your vessels have been temporarily disabled by a contained quantum field. Your life support systems will remain functional as long as you make no hostile moves. Please note that this is merely one of our less advanced defensive systems." The Drachnid commander's response was a mixture of rage and disbelief. "Impossible. Your species hasn't had time to develop such technology." "A reasonable assumption," Chen replied, her voice carrying a hint of amusement. "We encouraged everyone to think that. Now shall we discuss the terms of your withdrawal?" In her research vessel, Vexterra's energy form pulsed with revelation. She began analyzing everything she'd observed about humanity with new eyes. The seemingly random positions of research ships that created perfect coverage patterns. The way humans always seemed to be exactly where they needed to be. Their constant self-deprecating remarks about their technological limitations. "They've been playing a game," she transmitted to Dr. Nixis on a secure channel. "Everything we thought we knew about human military capability was what they wanted us to think." As if confirming her words, more human vessels emerged from quantum space. These ships were clearly military in design, their hulls covered in technology that Federation sensors couldn't even identify. They took up escort positions around the artifact with practiced precision. In a secure facility on Earth, Admiral Harrison watched the situation unfold on tactical displays. "Phase 2 complete," he noted. "The Drachnids took the bait perfectly." Director Chen nodded, studying the real-time data. "The artifact performed its role well. The Federation now has proof that we're more advanced than we claimed, but they still have no idea how much more." "Should we be concerned about Dr. Vexterra's analysis?" an aide asked. "She's already seeing patterns we didn't intend to reveal yet." "On the contrary," Chen smiled. "She's seeing exactly what we want her to see. The best way to hide the full truth is to let them discover a partial truth and think they found everything. As the Drachnid fleet was escorted from the system, their weapons and engines partially restored but closely monitored, Vexterra made one final observation that she kept to herself. The artifact, the object that had started this whole incident, had never shown any signs of power fluctuation during the entire confrontation, almost as if it had been perfectly shielded. Or perhaps, she thought with a shiver of her energy form, as if it wasn't ancient at all. The galaxy was beginning to realize that humanity had been orchestrating events all along, but they still didn't understand that everything they were learning was just another layer of humanity's grand deception. The true extent of Earth's military capability remained hidden, waiting for the moment when it would truly be needed. The Galactic Federation Council chamber buzzed with tension. Representatives from 17 species argued heatedly about the incident in human space, while Ambassador Corell observed from her crystalline pod with growing concern. The Drachnid humiliation had sparked a cascade of diplomatic crises across known space. The humans deceived us all. The Drachnid representatives' scales flickered with rage. They presented themselves as technological infants while harboring advanced military capabilities. This cannot go unchallenged. Corell noted how the human representative, a quiet man named David Chen, seemed almost bored by the accusations. His calm demeanor struck her as odd, given the gravity of the situation. Then she realized. He had expected this all along. The Miraxian Alliance, seeing an opportunity to assert themselves, announced they were establishing a military presence along their border with human space. Purely as a defensive measure, they claimed. The Drachnids, still smarting from their defeat, pledged support. Within days, 3 more species joined what they called a security coalition. Humanity's response was puzzling. They issued no protests, made no military demonstrations. Instead, they simply continued their normal activities, their ships following their usual trade routes as if nothing had changed. "Your species seems unconcerned," Corell remarked to Chen after the council session. Chen smiled slightly. "Ambassador, has it occurred to you that if we could hide our quantum web technology, we might be hiding other things as well?" The implications of his words sent ripples through Corell's crystalline structure. Before she could respond, alerts blared throughout the council station. A border skirmish had broken out between Miraxian and human ships. The initial reports were conflicting. The Miraxians claimed their patrol fleet had been attacked without provocation. The humans provided sensor data showing the Miraxians had fired first. As the council scrambled to respond, more incidents erupted across human space. In her private chambers, Corell reviewed the tactical data. Something wasn't right. The patterns of engagement seemed too perfect, the escalation too precise. She began mapping the locations of each incident, and a pattern emerged. The conflicts weren't random. They were creating a web of their own, forcing various species to commit military assets to specific regions of space. On Earth, in the Strategic Operations Center deep beneath the Pacific Ocean, Admiral Harrison watched the same pattern unfold on a much larger display. "The Miraxians took position exactly where we predicted," he noted. "Behavioral analysis models were spot on." Director Chen nodded, studying the complex holographic representation of galactic politics shifting before them. "When you understand how species think, you can predict how they'll react. The Miraxians are proud and aggressive but cautious. The Drachnids are vengeful but methodical. The Arcturians are curious but risk-averse. And they all think they're acting of their own accord," Harrison added with a slight smile. The next phase began when the Security Coalition launched what they believed would be a surprise inspection of human border defenses. 60 warships from 5 different species converged on a seemingly vulnerable sector of human space. They found exactly what humanity wanted them to find. The Coalition fleet encountered a new type of human vessel, massive ships that dwarfed anything Earth had previously shown. These behemoths, designated as Sentinel-class defenders, carried weapon systems that made the quantum web look primitive by comparison. Attention Coalition forces, broadcast Admiral Chen from the flagship Terran Guardian. You are now witnessing a small portion of Earth's actual defensive capability. Please note that these ships are at least 2 generations behind our current technology. The Coalition commanders watched in stunned silence as the Sentinel ships demonstrated their capabilities. They didn't fire a single shot. They didn't need to. Instead, they simply negated every offensive system targeted at them. Energy weapons dissipated harmlessly. Kinetic weapons reversed course. Even quantum-based attacks seemed to simply cease existing. But it was what happened next that truly shocked the Coalition. The human ships began to transform. Their hull configurations shifted like liquid metal, weapon systems emerged from seemingly solid surfaces, and energy patterns, unlike anything known to galactic science, danced across their surfaces. "Impossible," breathed the Miraxian commander. "Your species hasn't existed long enough to develop this level of technology." "Unless," came Chen's reply, "we had it all along." In the council chamber, Corel assembled an emergency session. As she presented her analysis, her crystalline form pulsed with the intensity of her realization. "The humans haven't just been hiding their capabilities," she explained. "They've been orchestrating every response, every reaction, every attempt to challenge them. The border incidents, the Coalition's formation, even the timing of their fleet inspection, all of it was predicted and planned for." "To what end?" demanded the Drachnid representative. "To control the revelation of their power," Corel answered. "Think about it. If they had shown their true strength immediately after achieving faster-than-light travel, the galaxy would have united against them in fear. Instead, they crafted a careful campaign of graduated disclosure." The council chamber erupted in debate, but Corel wasn't finished. "And I suspect," she added quietly, "that what we're seeing now is still not their full capability." She was right. In the depths of Earth's oceans, in hidden bases on forgotten moons, and in dimensional spaces between realities, humanity's true military power remained concealed. The Sentinel ships, impressive as they were, represented only the middle layers of Earth's defensive capabilities. "Phase 3 is complete," Director Chen reported to the Global Defense Council. "The galaxy now knows we're strong, but they still think they understand the extent of our power." "And the real fleet?" asked a council member. "Remains hidden," Harrison assured them. "Along with the dimensional arrays, the consciousness transference technology, and the temporal defense grid. As far as the galaxy knows, we're simply an unusually prepared young species." Chen nodded in satisfaction. Everything was proceeding according to plans laid down generations ago. Humanity had learned its lessons well. True power lay not in the strength you possessed, but in how you revealed it. As the galactic political structure reorganized itself around the new reality of human military capability, most species remained unaware that they were still seeing only what humanity wanted them to see. The real avalanche hadn't even started yet. The Arcturian research vessel Eternal Light spiraled through quantum space, its energy-based crew working frantically to process the data they collected. Dr. Vexterra led the analysis, her form pulsing with increasing agitation as each new calculation confirmed her fears. "It's not possible," her colleague Dr. Nixis insisted. "The power signatures we detected around Earth, they would require energy manipulation beyond anything in known physics." "Exactly," Vexterra replied. "Which means either our understanding of physics is wrong, or—" She didn't finish the sentence. She didn't need to. The Federation Council had tasked their best scientists with analyzing human technology after the Sentinel ship's demonstration. But every attempt to study Earth's capabilities led to more questions than answers. It was as if humanity's technological advancement didn't follow any logical progression. Meanwhile, the Federation's attempt to contain human expansion was failing spectacularly. Every diplomatic pressure, every trade restriction, every show of military force was met with responses that seemed perfectly calculated to expose the Federation's weaknesses while revealing new aspects of human capability. Ambassador Carell stood before the council, her crystalline form radiating urgency. "We've been approaching this all wrong," she declared. "We keep trying to understand human technology, but we should be studying human psychology. They're not just hiding their capabilities, they're revealing them in a way that maximizes psychological impact." In Earth's Deep Space Monitoring Station Hyperion, Director Chen watched the council session through quantum entanglement feeds. She turned to Admiral Harrison, who was studying a holographic display showing the real-time positions of Earth's true fleet. "They're finally asking the right questions," Chen noted. "Time for Phase 4. Harrison nodded. "The Federation's containment strategy has given us the perfect opportunity." The trigger came when the Federation attempted to establish a quarantine zone around human space. A fleet of over 200 ships from various species took up position along designated coordinates, creating what they believed to be an impenetrable blockade. That's when humanity revealed what dimensional arrays really meant. It started with a simple communication from Earth. "Federation forces, your blockade positions intersect with pre-existing human defense installations. We recommend immediate withdrawal to avoid any unfortunate accidents." The Federation commanders scoffed at the warning. Their sensors showed empty space, but Carell, present as an observer, noticed something odd about the quantum background radiation. It seemed to pulse in regular patterns, almost like. "By the first light," she whispered. "They've weaponized dimensional space itself." Before anyone could react to her observation, space itself seemed to shiver. Massive structures began phasing into normal space. Installations that had been there all along, hidden in dimensional folds that Federation science hadn't even theorized possible. These weren't ships or stations in any conventional sense. They were architectures of reality itself, constructed in spaces between spaces. The Federation fleet found itself not surrounding human territory, but surrounded by it. Every ship was suddenly caught in a web of overlapping fields that made the quantum web technology look like a child's toy. "This is Earth Defense Command," came a transmission that somehow arrived simultaneously at every ship through methods that defied known physics. "What you are experiencing is a Type 3 containment field generated by our low-grade frontier defense systems. For reference, we maintain Type 9 systems closer to Earth." The Federation commanders watched in stunned silence as their most advanced sensors tried and failed to comprehend what they were seeing. The dimensional arrays weren't just military installations. They were windows into possible futures, quantum probability manifolds turned into defensive weapons. In her observation post, Carell's crystalline form vibrated with revelation. "They don't just have advanced technology," she transmitted to the council. "They'd been operating on a completely different level of reality than the rest of us." Director Chen's voice came through again, calm and almost sympathetic. "We understand this is difficult to process. Humanity learned long ago that the best way to protect peace was to make war unthinkable. Everything you've seen, the modest ships, the quantum web, even the Sentinel-class vessels, was just preparation for this moment of understanding. On Earth, in a facility that existed simultaneously in multiple dimensional states, Chen watched the Federation fleet's response. "They're finally beginning to understand," she told Harrison, "but they still haven't realized that this isn't our final revelation." Harrison finished. He gestured to a display showing energy patterns that human scientists had mastered centuries ago. Patterns that suggested reality itself was far more malleable than anyone had imagined. The Federation fleet withdrew, their retreat marked by a kind of stunned silence that spoke louder than any declaration of surrender. In the council chamber, species that had once talked about containing humanity now debated how to come to terms with a civilization that didn't just control advanced technology, but appeared to operate under entirely different laws of physics. Carell, watching the dimensional arrays phase back into their hidden states, found herself questioning everything she thought she knew about the universe. The arrays hadn't appeared, she realized. They had simply allowed themselves to be perceived, like a parent finally showing a child the full complexity of the world around them. We never stood a chance, did we? She asked David Chen during an emergency council session. The human representative smiled that same calm smile she had seen so many times before. Ambassador, would it comfort you to know that everything we've shown you has been in service of preventing war, not preparing for it? Then why reveal so much power at all? Because, Chen replied, sometimes the best way to ensure peace is to make certain that everyone understands exactly how futile conflict would be. But even as he spoke these words of reassurance, in the quantum-shielded chambers beneath Earth's oceans, Director Chen and Admiral Harrison reviewed the final phases of humanity's revelation strategy. The dimensional arrays were impressive, yes, but they were still just the public face of human military capability. The real truth, the fact that humanity had long since transcended what other species would consider physical reality, remained hidden. For now. Let them think they've finally seen our full capability, Director Chen said, watching the patterns of probability shift and flow across the dimensional displays. Sometimes the greatest deception is letting others believe they've discovered all your secrets. The Galactic Federation's Grand Assembly had never seen such attendance. Representatives from every known spacefaring species crowded the massive chamber, their varied forms creating a living tapestry of galactic diversity. At the center of it all stood Ambassador Corell, her crystalline form refracting light in patterns that conveyed deep contemplation. We stand at a crossroads, she began, addressing the assembled delegates. What we've learned about humanity in recent months has shaken the foundations of our understanding, not just of technology, but of reality itself. The chamber's quantum displays showed footage of the dimensional arrays, the Sentinel ships, and other demonstrations of human capability. But Corell knew these were just the surface of a much deeper truth, one she had finally begun to grasp. In Earth's Strategic Command, Director Chen and Admiral Harrison watched the assembly through their quantum feeds. They weren't alone. Present in the chamber, though undetectable to Federation sensors, were aspects of humanity's true defense system, consciousness constructs operating on levels of reality that other species hadn't yet imagined. They're ready, Chen said softly. Time for the final revelation. Harrison nodded. The probability matrices show this is the optimal moment. They've processed enough to handle the truth without panic, but not so much that they've drawn dangerous conclusions. Back in the assembly, Corell was reaching the crucial point of her address. We've been asking the wrong questions, she declared. We've focused on what humanity has been hiding, when we should have been asking why they chose to reveal themselves in this particular way. A ripple of unease passed through the gathered representatives. The Drachnid delegate's scales shifted nervously as he spoke. What are you suggesting, Ambassador? Before Corell could respond, every quantum display in the chamber activated simultaneously. The image that appeared was simple. Director Chen sitting in what appeared to be a normal office, but something about the transmission made Corell's crystalline structure vibrate with recognition. The signal wasn't coming through any known communication method. It was as if reality itself was being used as a medium. Greetings, Assembly, Chen began. You've shown remarkable adaptability in accepting each revelation about Earth's capabilities. Now it's time for you to understand why we chose this path. The air in the chamber seemed to thicken with anticipation. Even the energy-based Arcturians dimmed their luminance to focus on Chen's words. Humanity, she continued, achieved what you would call technological singularity long before we made first contact with the galaxy. We didn't just master dimensional technology or quantum mechanics. We transcended the traditional boundaries between consciousness, energy, and reality itself. The displays shifted, showing images that most species present couldn't fully comprehend. Structures that existed in multiple dimensions simultaneously, energy patterns that rewrote the laws of physics, and consciousness networks that spanned entire star systems. We could have revealed this immediately, Chen explained. We could have emerged into the galaxy as gods, but our history taught us the danger of power without wisdom, of advancement without understanding its impact on others. The images changed again, showing Earth's history, centuries of warfare, conflict, and near destruction that had forged humanity's perspective on power and responsibility. So we chose a different path. We presented ourselves as a young, developing species. We revealed our capabilities gradually, in a way that allowed the galaxy to adapt and understand. Not because we feared your reaction, but because we respected your right to maintain your own path of development. Corell's form pulsed with sudden understanding. The dimensional arrays, the sentinel ships, they weren't just demonstrations of power. They were teaching tools. Precisely, Chen smiled. Each revelation was carefully calculated to help you expand your understanding of what was possible, to show you that reality is far more complex and wonderful than any of us first imagined. The assembly erupted in questions, but Chen raised her hand for silence. We're not here to dominate or control. Earth's military power, as vast as it might seem to you, has always been defensive in nature. We don't seek to rule the galaxy. We seek to protect it, to help it grow at its own pace. The displays shifted one final time, showing something that made even the most advanced species present reconsider their understanding of existence. It was Earth's true defense system, not ships or weapons or even dimensional arrays, but a fundamental manipulation of reality itself. The ability to restructure space, time, and consciousness in ways that made conventional warfare not just impossible, but meaningless. This is who we are, Chen concluded. Not conquerors, not overlords, but guardians. We hidden our true nature not out of deception, but out of respect for your own journeys of discovery. In the silence that followed, Corell moved to the center of the chamber. The Federation must decide how to proceed, she announced. But I believe we're seeing something unprecedented. A species that achieved godlike power yet chose to remain humble, to guide rather than dominate. The debate that followed lasted for days, but in the end, the Federation reached a conclusion that would reshape galactic society. Earth was formally recognized not as a threat to be contained or a power to be feared, but as a protector of galactic peace and stability. In the depths of Earth's quantum-shifted command center, Director Chen and Admiral Harrison reviewed the outcome. Around them, humanity's true capabilities continued their quiet work of maintaining the fundamental stability of spacetime itself. They still don't understand everything, Harrison noted. They don't need to, Chen replied. They understand enough to know that we're here to protect, not to rule. Sometimes that's all the understanding that's needed. As the galaxy adjusted to this new reality, humanity continued its work behind the scenes, maintaining the delicate balance of existence itself. They had achieved what few civilizations ever had, the power to dominate everything, and the wisdom to choose not to. The greatest deception, in the end, hadn't been hiding their power. It had been revealing it in a way that taught rather than threatened, that inspired rather than intimidated. Humanity had become not just masters of technology or warfare, but masters of the art of peaceful coexistence despite overwhelming power. And in the quiet spaces between dimensions, in the quantum folds of reality, where humanity's true consciousness now partially existed, they continued their eternal vigilance, not as conquerors, but as guardians of a galaxy it was only beginning to understand just how vast and wonderful existence could be.